about what to tell Dr. Murray?
I have to correct that. I didn't concoct a lie with Fahim. I told Fahim what I was going to say, and he just said, do whatever you have to do.
Together, you came up with a...
So he had no part in making in that. He agreed that he wouldn't give Dr. Murray the keys, and he said, whatever you tell Dr. Murray, I just won't give him the keys.
Isn't this a conversation that the two of you had about what to tell Dr. Murray?
About what I was going to tell Dr. Murray. Okay. I don't believe Fahim spoke to Dr. Murray.
So it was certainly important enough for you and Fahim to discuss what you were going to tell Dr. Murray.
I felt it was important to let them know that Dr. Murray asked for a ride and to not give him a ride, but what I was going to tell Dr. Murray, so they already knew.
Okay, and so you had that conversation with Fahim?
Yes, sir.
And you also told Dr. Murray something about the keys, is that right?
Could you?
Yeah, did you tell Dr. Murray that the keys were taken by the police?
That was what I told him, yes, sir.
So this was something that you found to be strange?
Well, if you look at the conditions surrounding the situation, with Michael Jackson just dying, and the chaos, and the phone calls I'm getting, that was the last thing that I would think about, basically. I wouldn't think of someone coming asking to go back to the house. And I didn't know the law, but from what I did know, I didn't think no one was allowed back in the house after something like that happened.
Makes sense. So the period of time that you're at the hospital, how many police officers were there?
A lot.
More than 5?
That's a good number to say.
How many hours did you stay at the hospital?
I stayed a few hours.
Well, can you be more specific for me?
I don't remember, sir.
Time is hard to estimate in those kind of situations, right?
Yes, sir.
After you left the hospital, you went back to Carrollwood, right?
Yes, sir.
And how many police officers were there?
It was a lot of police officers.
And you neither told the police officers at the hospital about Dr. Murray's request?
No, sir.
And you did not tell the police officers at Carrollwood about Dr. Murray's request?
No, sir.
The first time you told any police officer was over 2 months later?
Yes, sir.
Now, your testimony was that I believe what you said was you had a short conversation with the police officers at Carrollwood.
Yes, sir. If that's the word I use, I know it was short.
Well, what word would you like to use? Was it?
It wasn't detailed.
Okay. Do you recall telling police officers at the scene that it took you 45 minutes to travel to the residence?
I don't remember saying that, but if it's on the statement, then I must have said
Does
it.
that sound like a detail?
Yes. Excuse me, sir?
Does that sound like a detail to you?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember telling police officers you left 10 to 20 minutes, you left the residence 10 to 20 minutes after you arrived? Do you remember telling the police officers that?
I don't remember telling them that.
Would you consider that a detail?
Yes, sir.
You talked about who was in the vehicle when you drove Mr. Jackson to the Staples Center, right? You told the police that?
Yes, sir.
That it was you. It was Fahim Muhammad and Michael Jackson in the primary vehicle. You remember telling the police officers that?
Well, I don't remember my conversation, but what I do know, if I may say, they asked for a timeline of that day. What time we left, what time we got in.
Well, all right, then it's non-responsive.
At this point, it remains, you can finish your answer. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, sir. They asked for a timeline, and I gave them a timeline.
The next question.
Would you consider it a detail, the number of people that were in the car when you took Mr. Jackson to the Staples Center?
Yes, sir.
The detail you left out when you talked to police officers was the conversation with Dr. Murray.
Yes, sir.
Now, during the period of time, June 25th to August 31st, when you made this statement to the police officers, you were certainly aware of the news reports on the case, correct?
Yes, sir.
You were aware that there was lots of information coming out about Michael Jackson, about Dr. Murray?
Yes, sir.
You read these stories?
I seen the news.
Yeah, Mr. Jackson meant something to you, didn't he?
Yes, sir, he did.
Would it be fair to say that you had an affection, a love for Mr. Jackson?
Yes, sir.
And you certainly would want to know, want information about how he had died, right?
Yes, sir.
And you had seen news stories talking about Dr. Murray.
Yes, sir.
One of the questions that Mr. Walgren asked you was when Dr. Murray came to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
I assume that Dr. Murray did not merely make that one statement to you about cream. He talked to you about other things as well.
Yes, sir.
He asked about the children. Remember talking about the children?
I don't recall, sir.
That would be not an unusual conversation for you to have.
That's relevant.
Sustained. If there's a partial answer, it's stricken.
You said that Dr. Murray came to ask you about these things before Michael Jackson was pronounced dead. That's what your testimony.
Jackson misstates his testimony.
Well, is that correct or not?
Well, I think it misstates the testimony, but we'll find out. Overruled.
Is that correct or not?
Could you ask the question?
When did Dr. Murray tell you allegedly about this cream?
This was after Mr. Jackson was pronounced dead.
All right. When? What time?
I don't have the time, sir.
Was it an hour after? Was it 2 hours after?
I would say the family was there, his managers were there, and the children was with the family. Time had, like you said, it's hard to tell time in those kind of situations, but it was some time after.
Yeah, time is hard to tell when you're stressed out and you're worried, right?
Yes, sir.
It's not the kind of thing you try to keep track of, right?
Depending on the situation.
Right. Now, when we say pronounced dead, we're talking about when you found out that Michael Jackson was pronounced dead.
Let me take that back. When Dr. Murray and the doctors walked out, they closed the curtain and they said he passed.
Because Dr. Murray was with